And welcome back to the WGL Season 4 Match Week 10. Third game of the first play day. The last game of today, and it's between CPlay and eSuba. So, first two games have gone pretty well. Kind of to the expected result we thought would happen. Maybe not in the expected way, but nevertheless they got there. So, last game between CPlay and eSuba. Your thoughts on this one?
I think it's going to be pretty quick. Really interesting thing for me is eSuba is the fastest team generally. They close out the matches the fastest.
Or lose them the fastest.
Yeah, but exactly. Lose them. Play the matches the maps the fastest.
Correct.
CPlay on completely the opposite end of the spectrum. They are the slowest team. So either we're going to go to the extremes or they're going to meet right in the middle. We're going to have a pretty good match.
I'm hoping for the latter there, obviously. Yeah. And let's have a little look towards the lineups here before we get too far into our predictions. And, I was talking about a couple of players who I'd like to see in, maybe my dream team coming up. Ruster would certainly be one of them. A good new addition to this season. He's been certainly proving himself. Him, Jerry Can, Nervax, the Dead Zone, all very good players. eSuba, on the other hand, it seems to be all or nothing with them sometimes. Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's even a player problem for them. It's more of a tactical problem. Being the fastest team, it's not a good thing. It basically means you lose the fastest. Yeah, you can win sometimes, but eSuba's a little bit too more about the pushing and not really thinking. That's the problem for them. But yeah, the players are pretty good. We have seen Stenley, Mirage, Los Coscos all doing well.
True, yeah.
And I think to beat CPlay, they need to slow it down a little bit, think a little bit more about their pushes, use the information as opposed to just trying something maybe that's clever, but it doesn't work in the position that CPlay are in. Yeah,
they have some good theoretical play, eSuba, sometimes. You can clearly see they've done the homework side of it, but the practical execution is sometimes a little lacking from their strategies. And obviously, Melly, how can the guys at home get involved with us here if they have any predictions into this final matchup?
Just open your browser, type in facebook.com/WGLEU, and of course like our Facebook page, and then you'll see the very first post on the page itself is a vote where you can vote for your favorite team or the team you see in favor, and just leave the comments leave your exact prediction of the scoreline for the current match in the comment section below, and by guessing right you get the chance to win one of 3 bonus codes. And the other chance is getting involved via Twitter. Just head over to twitter.com/WGLEU. Follow us on Twitter, become part of our network, stay updated during the matches. Even if you can't watch the stream, you will get live updates about the happenings on the server, so you won't miss any single minute, even without watching the stream, not scream. And of course, you can get involved with us via tweeting, via using the hashtag WGLEU in your tweets. I don't know why I'm mixing up my sentences now.
Words are hard.
Yeah, I know. I figured.
Like math.
True.
Indeed.
There you go.
Addition is super hard. Plus words. Addition plus words. Our jobs are just hard, I think.
Yeah.
That's it. Pay raise.
Many people just underestimate what we're doing, I guess.
That's it. That's it. They just, they don't understand.
Yeah.
Caster's curse as well, pretty bad.
Yeah, Melly's been finally introduced to the casting curse. She put a prediction through, and
I'm not going to say anything about this match, seriously, because it happens exactly the opposite. Sometimes you guys get lucky, but when I say something,
because we have to do it every single time.
We try and hedge our bets as well. I'll see him go for one. Yeah. I'll just go for the other team just in case.
Yeah, it will be right at some point.
One will be right. So we sound near incompetent.
So I'm not going to say anything, but that's your role in our show. So just head over to Facebook, to Twitter, tweet us, post on our Facebook walls, post in the comment section, send us messages, everything you want. Get involved in Twitch chat, and of course follow us on YouTube, and don't forget to follow our Twitch channel, which is really important because you get a notification, a little pop-up on the Twitch page itself as soon as we're going live, and you won't miss any single action going on here in our awesome studios, and won't miss any minute with us awesome people.
Whoa, awesome's a strong word.
We're awesome.
I'll accept it.
I mean, we won the World Cup.
We is another strong word for that.
It's true, they did. In quite spectacular
I
fashion.
hate it.
I knew it was going to come out at some point. It's finally come out in the last matchup. God damn it.
I give up.
I tried to hold back. Sorry, I failed. Sorry.
Weltmeisterschaft.
Yeah, that's all.
Germans.
That's how you can get involved. I'm waiting for your tweets.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Melly. Thanks, just bring it up. That's cool. I had to deal with us smug Germans in the last couple of days, and she just...
We invented this sport and we suck at it.
Great.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
We're not
I
great.
didn't say it.
Yeah, we didn't do so well this time around. But anyway, hopefully these two teams will do substantially better than the English team did in that previous cup no one cares about, right? Anyway, talking about the players we're going to be seeing coming up, especially on the maps like Cliff, which will be the first one. I'm going to have to give a standout player for this one, and I'm going to call out Nervax, because he's sitting at 31 kills so far in the season. Certainly up there with the likes of, Elian, maybe a little behind, maybe, your McMoney's like the one-man kind of standouts. But he's up there with the top players in some other bigger teams, and he's certainly keeping score with them. He's my man to watch. What about you? Who do you think we should keep our eyes on?
I think Nervax and Rusta are just absolutely on point. I want to see the rest of the team kind of keep up with pace with them, because that's what they need to be the overall picture.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I'm hoping we see a well-rounded team today. I think overall this is CPlay's game. Whether or not be easily won out to that effect, I'm yet to see. eSuba have been able to pick up occasional maps from higher skilled opponents, let's say, but it's all going to come down to at least how they start this one off, and it's going to be on the first map, Cliff. And welcome into the first map, as promised and said. It will be Cliff in the south in blue. It's going to be eSuba with the possibility of the aggression, or maybe their own tactic to come out of this one. And in the north in red, it's going to be CPlay, the favourites on paper here, but can they turn that into a victory? What are we seeing so far?
Straight away, the individual, I don't know, flair of eSuba, you can see their uniqueness coming out. KKT, Camo, Stenley, Fluky going the old school lower route up in towards probably this area, or maybe just going to go straight across. And CPlay doing what we'd expect, and really what every other team does, pushing straight up from the north, from the cap towards the upper place. The 2 MX-39 is going to be taking the lower route. So for a CPlay, at least, it's going to be the standard move. It's really what eSuba does that will dictate the style of this game. You can see KKT, Gambo, and Stenley all sitting up below. Don't know exactly what they're expecting, or they just want to kind of stay safe and defensive at the same time. And then when the time comes, they can push forwards and, try something innovative.
Yeah, very interesting. I think Rusta pushed a little aggressively on this hill to see if anyone would spot him or if he'd get spots. He spotted out Birgit, and that's about it. Now backing away, I'm interested to see how CPlay now play this one out, because they've kind of realized that they're not in the position they expect to an extent. Los Coscos is, however, in a position that can still do damage, and Rusta receiving the first. That's a bit of an interesting slant on things. Rusta trying to get into a unique position. Not going to work out so easily for him. Ambitious, to say the least, but I'll be interested to see if he can make it anywhere that might be able to define this, because now we're going to see CPlay trying to adapt to something they may not be used to. Then maybe their aggressive play or their individual dependent play might be faltered a little here, because they can't get into those comfortable spots, and it could see them pushed out of their comfort zone. But still, eSuba looking like they're working their way around a little, pushing up over the western side, using the cliff face to kind of gain some presence. However, we're still seeing Hacky trying to maintain that position in mid, and the more that I feel CPlay learn where the disadvantaged numbers are, the more we could see a bit of a problem starting to appear.
Yeah, they are being quite risky, I have to say. CPlay needs the information, though, because at the moment eSuba are in the better positions. They have the flank on. They've committed absolutely nothing towards those cliffs, which is going to be interesting if CPlay do decide to push onto Birgit, which I don't think they will do, because there'll be perfect cross-on location for eSuba. But the one weakness eSuba has is that Voodoo's completely on his own, unsupported, and CPlay could literally just drive around here, take him down, and not receive really any substantial amount of damage. The dead zone spots out Mirage. I think Mirage gets spotted there. As he just try and get back. So CPlay slowly starting to get the information. I want to see what they do with that information. I think that's going to be the most pivotal thing. For me, it would definitely be around that cliff. But, the cliff is such a specific place to go, and it takes so long that unless you actually spot Voodoo's over towards the right side, then the southern side, I should say, then there's really no point in doing that. So more of a standard tactic, more information needed from CPlay.
And you can see that a couple of shells coming out towards the dead zone there. It looks like, at the moment, Nervax did get a little bit more, let's say, confident to peek over that mid in that T69, as they know there's maybe not the players there that normally would hold it back, but still, a little bit more damage received to CPlay, but they are trying to find out where the opposition are. And I'm interested to see how they adapt now. I want to see what they can bring to this because, let's be serious, they're not a team that have been completely tested by unknown tactics to kills, or what the hell?
Yeah, he's stuck. He's screwed. What a noob. Oh no, he's alright. Should be alright. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, he could actually, I honestly think he's stuck now, actually. He screwed that one up as well. Yeah. That's one of the most newbie things I've seen to Killzone, mate. No, I'm sorry, but if you're going to try and jump off the cliff, you've got to do it in the best way possible.
He's trying to wiggle.
Yeah, he's done it. It's not. It's got to be careful.
Nothing ever happened. It's all okay.
Totally good. Only wasted about a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. And there we go. Finally, Burger will fall just a tier 1. But Dekilzor is back with us.
Physics are hard.
Yeah, physics, math, and words, all very difficult. Fluky has, however, appeared in an interesting position. The tier 1 shows up down towards the north. I'm interested if they go for anything off the back of that, but still, so far, eSuba are actually playing quite patiently. Yeah,
they're in a strange position, but it does give them the options they need. For me, it would definitely be the cap with Fluky and Voodoo's. As accomplished towards Fluky there, he's going to be careful. And CPlay clearly have an inkling of where he is. But as I was saying, cap is the option for eSuba. It's quite hard on this map because basically if you go over towards the cap, you have like this whole location. It's a perfect position to destroy tanks here. You know, you can't even do the trick where you have one tank in front and then the one that's actually capping behind because, look, you can also get shot from the side. So that's the cliff from the north that's a real disadvantage because, well, it's a real advantage actually because you can stop the cap very easily. Toya getting spotted. I'm not sure if he's going to go down. Voodoo's is in a good position. And now CPlay. Ooh, Voodoo's getting tracked. Just to get untracked there. But CPlay know that eSuba have got one tier 8 tank out of position. So I'm not sure how they're going to react. Ruster is on the rotate though.
Yeah, he's heading back towards the cap circle. We're seeing Hacky coming off the hill and maybe joining Treves. But I'm as you said, it's going to be a bit of a hard reaction now for CPlay. They have to find their way through here. And let's actually keep on board with Hacky. See where he's heading. It looks like he's going to go for that split round the east side. It's not paid off so well for other teams so far when they've done the double 1390 split round this corner. But maybe a tier 1 1390 just to scatter out, find the weaknesses is not a bad idea. Hopefully it goes a little better than the tactics we've seen before when this has been utilized. And at the end of the day, we're not seeing much more from eSuba. They're getting into the curious positions, but they're not pushing just yet. The dead zone could be vulnerable, maybe. But he still has a fair amount of backup from Nervax not too far away. And it's all within reason. The kills are getting up here this time, actually not fumbling around and falling off the cliff, will certainly help Matters. He can keep some great eyes across no matter where they go. Los Coscos appearing could be in trouble. The kills can see either side of the cliff that they were rotating through. So I'm waiting to see how eSuba now kind of challenge this one out. If they want to continue down this road of playing a little bit out of the box, or if they're going to fall back to a more standardized tactic. And at the moment, it looks like they're catching a couple of these tanks out. Nervax taking a bit of a beating as well. So CPlay clearly not too sure of how to play this one through because the more that's appearing, the more trouble we could see the dead zone being in here.
And they really should have pushed onto Los Coscos then. He was vulnerable and on his own. I don't know why Dekilzor didn't make those shots because he was completely unsupported. KKT Gamma finally does take some damage, but look how much Nervax has taken. He's down to 186 for no reason at all. And CPlay, they just didn't take the advantage when they needed to. Even though Los Coscos was in the open on his own. The cap does become an option now. Trevor's heading that way.
Yeah, Trevor's split off with, I think it was Hacky a little earlier on. And that's why we generally don't see it on this map. It's a very easy shot to come through. And that one will be claimed by eSuba. So eSuba evening the scoreboard up, so taking a tier 1 each. They've done a substantially better amount of damage towards CPlay. But are they in any position where they can close this game out?
The question is, can they find Nervax? They need to take him down before they think about anything else. And CPlay is a good team, so they're going to keep him back and kind of in a defensive position, although he's kind of in the front lines, I guess. Obviously, the dead zone there and the T69 that's even further forwards. But I don't think CPlay can win this one. eSuba can. Voodoo takes another shell. And if I was eSuba, I would just come pushing off and I'll just go straight in towards where the cap is. Put all the tanks down there. Keep maybe like Stenley and KKT Gambo up here to stop CPlay from decapping and resetting this fight.
2 minutes left. If a move's going to happen, it has to be soon for either side here. And as you said, there is a very obvious weakness on the CPlay side of Nervax being down very, very low. 186 is all he's left with. As I said, I'm surprised, or as you said actually, I'm surprised he's out here. Yes, he's easily avenged by either Ruster or Dekilzor, but it's still quite an open position for a man like this, considering, you know, this whole side of the map is completely unspotted at the moment, and it's easy to send a tank back around for eSuba. But then again, would they be in a position to push off the back of that? I'm not sure. At the moment, with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, the options are becoming more and more limited as we go through this. Every second that ticks away from either side, it's looking less and less likely they can actually close this out. Looking at the amount of HP that's still alive, look at this though. Los Koskos pushes around the area that we said was completely unspotted, easily takes down Nervex, and there's no reply so far. Finally, a little bit of damage, but a 1 minute 10 push, is this a full commitment?
They have to go and commit. They've got 1 minute and 5, as you say, so very little time, a lot to do.
Well, the dead zone is the initial man they want to get down. He's the second weakest here, and he will fall. However, exchanged with Hacky taking down KKD Gambo. But let's see if this can continue. The kills will get some good work over towards Stanley, but nothing major. And the continued push from eSuba will follow, but it looks like CPlay just wanted to draw this one out. They're not really engaging here. Yeah,
they're not. They're wanting to stay back, stay safe, and as long as they can reset the cap, which is obviously what Suba has to go for, they know they don't have enough time to kill all the tanks, so the only option, the 100% option, is the cap. There's going to need at least 3 tanks in there to be enough time to do this.
Well, they forced Hacky to back away. He was the player who could pretty easily reset this one, so he's now backed away. Ruster is being held back by Fluky. It's pretty much down to Dr. Tour and Hacky. Hacky now peers back up, gets a big bit of damage down. Los Koskos is in trouble. Hacky did take out Stanley, so the cap is now under trouble. Look how much time this would take to get it done. Hacky's down to a one-shot. Ruster finds Fluky, so that's him now easily available to do this. But 4 seconds left. They do not have the time to close this out. The first map is going to end in a draw. And indecision and slight lack of focus might have been the reason we didn't see one team walking away with a victory there, I feel.
Yeah, there was a couple of opportunities and a couple of missed opportunities. As I said, Los Koskos being on his own. Obviously, CPlay didn't want to risk it, so they didn't actually go for the kill on him. But eSuba played that tactic before, and I think CPlay should have had an answer for that for sure. It would have definitely involved exploiting the fact that eSuba had to split up their tanks a lot. So pretty much just put 5 together and just go head on into them, and you'll probably end up winning. But I must admit, eSuba looked pretty strong on that map. I quite like it. I mean, they weren't making all the classical eSuba mistakes, being fast. They were thinking about their moves. They were making the right moves. They just didn't have enough time. And CPlay were a little bit good on the counter that they couldn't actually win it. So good matchup so far. I mean, it was a draw, which is never good, but we'll be moving on to our next map, Ensk. And CPlay have been impressive on Ensk, I have to say it. They've been pretty strong. This might even be their strongest map. So if I was eSuba, I would be scared.
I'd be worried. After eSuba weren't able to close out a game that they had quite the advantage on, I think they got to that point and they're like, okay, well, where do we go from here? You know, it's that little kind of stumbling block of these theoretical tactics that are great, which it was theoretically. That is a very strong tactic, but then, you know, you've got to take into account CPlay can play it however they want. Then it's not like they are roped into just your tactic as well, and it kind of fumbled off the back of that. But then again, eSuba have done quite nicely on this. They did pick up the T69 previously on this map, and it did actually work out quite nicely. It was in the hand of Voodoos. It wasn't a bad choice. It did the job it wanted to, and eSuba picked it up. So let's keep in mind, you know, there is certainly a possibility of eSuba turning this one on its head a little, and I'm surprised that CPlay didn't really make any moves themselves there on Cliff. They were a little passive in the way they played it out, considering normally they do depend on their individuals to step up quite heavily and do a lot of damage. When that didn't really fall into place, they were a little bit lost, I feel. So maybe depending a bit too much on their individual talent rather than maybe the well-rounded tactics. But then again, Ensk being quite a linear map in the way it plays out, maybe that's not a huge factor coming into this. They can play it smartly and just go through the motions almost. As you know, we rarely see something completely brand new. We see options being available, i.e. the green zone play, or maybe down the 6 line utilizing the city, but it's within kind of this, you know, very boxed in option. So there's your 3 options, pick what you want and hope it doesn't get flat out countered. With blind picks coming in as well, you know, it adds another element of you can't just go for these all-in plays that completely favor one side or cheese it to that extent, because you can be completely counterpicked without even knowing it coming into this. They had to play the best all-round tactic as much as possible, and I think we're just seeing the tanks coming into play. No real surprise just yet. I want to see if eSuba do pick up that T69 again. They picked it up in one game, dropped it in the next. I'm interested to see if they play with it in this one. The
one they did pick up on was actually a successful battle for them. They won it, so it's certainly an option. It does depend on what CPlay pick. If they have like 5100s and AMX 3090s, I don't think you'll see 3090s. But if there are lots of AMX 5100s, that T69 is very effective. But it looks like we're going to be seeing something different. Quadruple AMX 5100. Remember, eSuba is a team that loves these high auto-loading percentages in the team. They have the 4 or the 5 on steps.
They do on Himmelsdorf as well.
They had it on Himmelsdorf. They really are very good with the auto-loaders, and they love the burst damage that they provide. Obviously, IS3 there, played by Stenley, just to basically be the backup so they can still do side scraping, put them in a defensive position. I expect CPlay is going to be more L Classic, double AMX 5100, AMX 1390, interestingly, I think. From Ruster will be interesting to see that. I mean, the 3090 has been used a few times, but it's such a small map. It's 600 meters. It's the smallest one in the game. So, you know, why do you need an AMX 1390? You don't need to spot, really. The only thing that you can do is basically avoid damage because it's so small and fast. And also, it's actually a pretty high damage dealing tank, 1,440 from the 6 shells and the F3. You get it behind another tank, and it would be very devastating. But you know, the IS3 still has got a lot of HP as well.
Also, let's keep in mind this map, Ensk, was one they actually picked up the map against School Bus on. Varying mistakes came into place for School Bus in the last play that we witnessed, but the base camp coming out from eSuba was actually quite impressive. So certainly something to keep in the back of your minds. They are very competent on this. That 5100 stack that they quite often go for does actually work. It's not just a cheesy one-off. It does have a very legit position on this map, and I'll be interested to see if it comes off again. But, you know, we often ask the question, do you always go for the IS3 kind of combination with the 5100s? What is the favorability between the two? For once, I actually feel it's quite a safe bet in the hands of eSuba. They seem to be able to work it really nicely on this map, more than most. Why is that?
I think they've just got very competent AMX 5100 players. I honestly think their auto-loading players are some of the best in the league. And they have a good spatial awareness, so obviously a very experienced team together. That's not the problem in the team. The team is just not very sound tactically, I think. But yeah, 100% good in those auto-loading tanks, and it looks like CPlay, as I said, picking up the general lineup, triple 5100, double IS3, double tier 1. So I think from the south it's going to be eSuba, from the north CPlay, so I don't think it makes such a big difference, and it's a pretty balanced map from both sides. Yeah,
most definitely is. I'd like to see the stats of winning percentage on either side, but I'm pretty sure it's with you. It's more down to how the teams play it out on those sides rather than the side giving you any benefits. So I do believe the teams are ready. Make sure you get your predictions through to us using that hashtag WGLEU on Twitter, and tell us your thoughts on this matchup coming up. Will Ensk be maybe the stomping grounds for eSuba, or can CPlay turn it around? Let's get ready to find out on the next map coming up. Ensk. And welcome into battle number 2. Between CPlay and eSuba. In the south, in red, it will be CPlay, and in the north, in blue, it is eSuba. Both teams have had some fantastic results on this map. Who will be able to pick it up this time? I think my predictions are going to be with eSuba here. What are your thoughts on this one? Who do you think is going to get it?
I don't know. I think eSuba's is they're pretty good on this map, generally, both teams. It's going to be a really hard one. I think this might even be the hardest matchup for these two. Los Coscos, KKT Gamma, Stenley, Ubergit, using the speeds of the 5100, all going over towards the green zone. So that's immediately an interesting tactic from them. CPlay also heading that way. So we might have a quick engagement, actually, as both teams head to the same direction. The kill's also getting spotted. But what CPlay doesn't want, what eSuba doesn't want to happen is for those railroads to be used, because that's such a good place for an IS3 to play. You can side scrape the 5100, will struggle desperately to penetrate the side. You might even only get 1 shell out of 6. Los Coscos takes the first frag of the game, taking down Dr. Toya. But KKT Gamma gets punished immediately by the dead zone. So back and forth at the beginning of this map.
And Voodoo's actually switching up with Burgit. Burgit picking up the 5100, and Voodoo's in the tier 1. So that's a slight change. Normally we see him being the other way around, and KKT Gamma obviously being in the 5100 as well. This is going to be interesting. Voodoo's does go down in the tier 1, but then again, let's bear in mind, a lot of captains will prefer being the one to be taken down early on, because then they get to be able to lead with complete vision over their team. So not the worst in the world, waiting for it to go through. But what do we see we're up to here? Well,
they put Fluky first to spot out. He hasn't spotted anything, and they know that CPlay is over towards the green zone, so they're basically drawing the battle lines. They know they want the city, they want to clear out the city as much as possible. And then once they've done that, they can actually move on. But it's a pretty aggressive stance from eSuba in general. We've seen this being pretty successful. What happens is you need to engage here. You send your... well, they've only got one tier 1. They would have really liked to have 2. You send your 1 or 2 tier 1s and a 5100 here. You put the 5100 this way and the tier 1s behind, so you get the cap on. And then the rest of your tanks just flank around here and stop the team from actually decapping. That's been a successful tactic altogether. Really successful. It worked against School Bus, so it certainly can work against CPlay. But still, 7 minutes and 45 seconds, maybe a little bit too early, and you can see Mirage is still trying to clear out the city, making sure that there's no surprise tier 1s. That would be really bad. You know, if there's a tier 1 behind that managed to decap from the worst possible position, or a 5100. You know, we've seen TCM try these kind of hide and seek tactics where they put a tank in a really odd position and hope the other team doesn't spot it. So I actually think eSuba might be able to win this if they carry on doing what they're doing now.
Yeah, Rusta and Treves are the only ones really making a move for CPlay, heading up that 0 line, trying to get the presence through the green zone, maybe doing a little bit of what we're seeing eSuba do, but just, you know, trying to gather as much information, finding out where the team is, where they aren't. Hacky now being allowed to edge up a little. Treves, DeKillzor, all there, all waiting, and pretty much quite defensive from CPlay, not really overly getting committed towards this. Nervax also coming around with DeKillzor. It looks like they maybe want to start making a counterplay here. This could catch out eSuba.
It could. I mean, eSuba's being a little bit too late to the party at this point. They should have already done what they wanted to do, because now CPlay is going to go hull down. We see a lot of teams go in this position. They can sit behind these railroad cars. They can do so much damage. Look at Stanley, gets punished immediately. Yeah,
really caught out in the open, then trying to back away, takes an extra shell. Down to 7-8-4 very early on. Nervax is not stopping for anyone. And we're seeing the instant counter push coming out from CPlay pretty much. You know, the dead zone moving up. Hacky now joining him. This has to be a very quick response from eSuba. They need to get back in defense pretty fast.
I'm going to have to make sure they don't lose as much HP as possible as well, and already Stanley receiving about 50% off. That's not good at all, you know, because CPlay are going to be pushing forwards. They're going to be keeping the pressure onto eSuba, and when that happens, you want as much HP to play around with as possible. As both teams are just really trying to find a way into this game, and I have to say CPlay are doing a better job, but still, like Evil Planet Squad had to do, they have to make that push, they have to execute perfectly, because yes, one tank's received about 50% HP off and KKT Gambo's also received a shell, but it's not, you know, end game kind of damage, and CPlay still has to nail that one, because with the 450-100s, the amount of damage eSuba is going to be able to pump out into CPlay is absolutely phenomenal, and an IS-3 will go down in a matter of seconds. So there's always that in the back of the mind for CPlay.
And I'll be very interested how CPlay now kind of make those next couple of moves. So you can kind of see the setup they're working with at the moment. Hacky in the dead zone, pretty much split on their own down here. Down that 6 to 7 line. Nervax and DeKillzor on their own as well. It's very similar from what we saw from EPS, and it's actually working out quite nicely so far for CPlay. Getting good damage from afar down. Yes, they lost the tier 1, but they've not actually received a single shell since then. So allowing these guys a little more freedom to make sure they're not going to be pushed into any sort of tactic, not allowing eSuba to really lead the pace here. Certainly denying the control, but we are seeing a slow but well-formed push-up coming out from eSuba, putting DeKillzor through his paces, making sure he's on point back here, landing shell after shell. And CPlay are very much standing up to eSuba, and I want to see now how these tanks, as they're slowly forming up here and waiting on maybe Rusta to make his mind up. Is he being defensive? Is he going to go aggressive? Where is his position here? Because he seems to be roaming in between.
Yeah, but the best move would be from CPlay to push up north. They got their own Hacky. The only one defending for eSuba is Fluky and KKT Gambo. Obviously, Fluky staying in a tier 1 won't be able to do too much damage. So KKT Gambo will really be the only wall between CPlay winning at this point in time. Caps now coming on for CPlay. Bug is going to have to try and get back, and this is a slow but sure play from them, and really want to see how this one goes. Hacky takes down Fluky. Mirage also heading in towards the cap, so everything's starting to come together, but definitely CPlay's game to lose.
Yeah, and this is going to be an attack on two fronts. Rusta playing the defense game, focusing down towards Mirage and Los Coscos. Up in the north, you've still got the dead zone, Hacky and Treves, focusing down towards KKT Gambo. At the moment, on all fronts, this is going CPlay's way until finally a little bit more fire comes in towards Rusta, but he does have support. He's got DeKillzor close, he's got Nervax close. It's pretty much a 3-2 split coming out from CPlay, and now completely focused on defense. They've seen how fast that clock is looking to be running. Birgit is down low, he goes down to Rusta with a fantastic shot as now Los Coscos and Mirage try and withstand the barrage of bullets coming in. CPlay's cap is looking pretty damn good so far. 11 seconds left, and we are seeing eSuba backing away. They can't withstand this. Los Coscos is down lower than a one shot. The dead zone even might be able to take these guys down with a swing of a turret. And 13 seconds left. It looks like CPlay might have this one in the bag.
The dead zone really did miss that shell, though. That would have ended the game, but KKT Gammo has just been the better player. The dead zone getting caught out once again. 2 seconds left.
1 second on the board. Oh, he gets the shot down and denies the reset. 5 seconds on the cap now to come out. Mirage and Stenley can do nothing but watch as their hopes have been swept away, and CPlay pick up the map. Very well played out in the end then. Considering eSuba made quite the aggressive start, they definitely showed their hand, a little bit too much maybe. But then CPlay found the perfect answer. Yeah,
they actually went everything in towards their favor, CPlay then, because eSuba pushed out the south, but actually CPlay's main move was in the north. So they basically just split the team right in half, and they had the perfect answer, the 2 IS3s and Rust up there, the amount of damage those guys could pump out. So, you know, with those 5100s, you want to be in a situation where you're pushing in, not when you're on the defensive, and that's why CPlay won it. Also, I like the move with the IS3s going around towards the trains. I think ultimately the amount of damage they did there allowed them to actually pull off that move, because without those IS3s continue pumping into, for instance, Burgit, I don't think it would have been so easily. So, yes, the engagement from the Super won CPlay the map, but ultimately CPlay would have won it anyway because of that initial move on towards those train carts.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I love their use of resources. More often than not, we see teams either overcompensating to the defending of the cap or the attacking, trying to take the cap circle. They seem to get it absolutely perfect, as you mentioned. Excuse me. So I'm very impressed with the way that played out. I think that was a very smart choice of where to put your tanks, and great leadership from CPlay, actually. And eSuba just kind of falling apart. It seems as though eSuba have these theoretical tactics, so they maybe, they write down together, they think through, but then they don't think about the practical implications of it sometimes. They, think to a point and go, okay, well, it's worked a couple of times, this is going to have to work again. But then they don't think, okay, well, what counters this? How can we counter that counter? That kind of constant leveling up of adding new layers to these tactics. The teams really have to think through, and I think if eSuba want to get to maybe that next plateau on maps like Ensk, you need to kind of think of these slight additions. It may have worked against School Bus once, but then I doubt it'd work a second time, for example. These teams learn very quickly to these tactics, and it'd only take maybe CPlay looking back and going, well, okay, they played it this way against School Bus. They may not do the exact same thing, but let's think of a counter just in case. Let's think of a way, if they play it to this sort of tactic, we've got the answer. And it's quite simple to counter when you really put in the homework, and it looks like CPlay have at least got themselves prepared. But then the next map coming up, another city map, but a little different to Ensk, let's say. It's Himmelsdorf. So it's kind of its own little beast here. It's very hard to predict. It's very hard to completely counter tactics because they're so easily adapted, and there's always more layers that are quite open to being learnt. So, for example, we saw the Northwest play coming out in the previous game where the team was camped down quite passively with a KV5, and there was the push-up. Now, most teams, or at least most, I'd say, higher-tier teams will go for maybe a split, sending maybe 2 tanks through the middle lines, leaving the rest down towards the railroad to go for the exchange. Didn't see that in the last one, sadly, coming out from EPS, but would either of these teams maybe use that, or do you think they'll go back to maybe the hill play?
I'm wondering what's going to go. I'm not sure if one of them is going to be defensive like we've seen in the previous matchup and loads of matchups, actually. But like Ensk, I think Himmelsdorf is pretty good for these two teams. eSuba have been impressive on it. CPlay, they've been back and forwards. It's been a pretty interesting match for them. I think it's one of those maps that both these teams really need to start learning a little bit more. But
to a higher extent, maybe.
I like CPlay on this one. They remind me a lot of Kazna Crew and that, and TCM and those kind of teams on this map. So I'm going to be quite interested to see what they've got in store. I'm hoping for some aggressive moves. I think the hill play is likely. They're very good at catching teams out on the hill as well. They have the brilliant extra MX 5100 that really does give them the extra dimension.
I was going to ask, are we going to see the 5100 stack again?
Yeah, I'm interested. It depends what eSuba wants to do. If they want to be aggressive, then I think that will work very well. But I just think it's going to come down to CPlay going forwards, trying to get the win, because at the moment eSuba's been giving them the win as opposed to CPlay getting it.
There's been a lot of moments like that with eSuba though, where they've been on the cusp of actually winning the game and they'll go for this completely random tactic. I'm trying to think back to the game on Mines. I think it was eSuba, and they went for this all-in crazy push around the village. It was against TCM.
Yeah, it might have been, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's one of these where they were, near on to the point of winning it and they completely fumbled it towards the end. And it's once again these theoretical tactics that sound great until you try and do them against a blind pick team. There's so many risks involved in that because, if you go, well, I think they're going to play these tanks, and then suddenly they come out with something that's completely opposing that, you're kind of screwed already. So I'm hoping they don't do it on this. I think the tanks have come through. Are we seeing the 5100 stack?
Yeah, triple 5100 IS3 Dol Tier 1. Unfortunately, no KV5 this time, guys, but, we
That's
might
not
see
a
it
bad
again.
thing.
Yeah, but eSuba picking up the 4 5100s again, and Stanley in the IS3. So, like we've seen from eSuba plenty of times before, they're going for the extra 5100.
Well, last time it didn't really find its place. They were aggressive, but they were outdone by CPlay. This time around, maybe they can make it work. But would you say this maybe indicates a little bit more towards the hill play coming out? With
Yeah,
those
they can get on the hill a lot quicker. But I just think generally this is what eSuba wants. They like those 5100s, so they use them.
Well, keep your eyes on those 5100s because I believe the teams are now ready. Let's turn our sights towards the next map coming up, Himmelsdorf. And welcome into battle number 3 between CPlay and eSuba. Currently CPlay winning with the one map beside them. And that was on the city map Ensk. So it could translate well here onto Himmelsdorf. So in the south in red it's going to be CPlay. In the north in blue it's eSuba. Are we seeing those 5100s going to where we expected?
Yeah, the hill is a big option for eSuba, and CPlay need to be careful of that. They can either go everything up there to counter what eSuba wants to do. They're sending Voodoo's Fluky, Burgit going right, so 3 tanks, including Los Coscos, towards the hill for eSuba, and 1 over toward the right side. A little bit odd for Mirage being on his own there. And what CPlay is doing is generally the trend of what we're seeing on Himmelsdorf more and more. School bus, evil panels will all come to mind. The left side being utilized heavily, and a couple of tanks going up that hill.
Yeah, Nervax, Hacky, the Killzor, Treves, the Dead Zone, all over here, happy to get into the faces if necessary. They've already spread out Mirage, so nice initial work there from them. The Killzor just chilling out in mid. So I'm curious to see how this one kind of unfolds. With Ruster not being with them, him being on his own, trying to maybe face off on this hill a little more. And have eSuba taken their time around the hill? Have they fully stacked it out? Because actually, no, they're split up a little bit.
Yeah, Mirage is going to be heading back. And I think this is what eSuba wants to do. They need to get Voodoos in the right position on the hill. Then Burgit, Los Coscos, and Stanley can come off from the left.
And there's no one watching this.
Yep.
The A-line is completely unguarded. Finally, we're seeing the fire coming in because Voodoos and Fluky have appeared on the hill. But that may just reconfirm the fact that, the CPlay is going to expect it to be a hill push, and they will not expect this play down the A-line. Literally, no one is here. Truck de Tour does take down Fluky. But we're seeing the counterplay very quickly coming out here from CPlay. They are pushing up that 3 line as fast as they like, but they could still be caught out by a cap starting a little bit quicker than they'd expect.
This might just be a cat race. At the moment, eSuba don't seem to be winning it either. Dr. Tor had to be taken down by Fluky because Voodoo's take 2 shells for it, and failing to take down Dr. Tor. This is just incredible from him. As Los Coscos to make his way up the hill, and at the moment, eSuba seem to be floundering. They don't know what to do. They see Ruster on his own, and they're just trying to get him.
Ruster is now in trouble. He did not expect Burgit to appear around the corner with Los Coscos above. This is unbelievable stuff. Treves and everyone else is flying up towards the north. Ruster is going down. Voodoo's claims it. But can they continue this pressure? Now they know the game plan. This is the base race I've been waiting for. Yeah,
they're really late though. eSuba could actually already won it if they didn't go for Ruster. They needed to only put a couple there, but they instead put 3 or 4 tanks onto him. So CPlay, they're in the cap first.
So, cap now started. Who's going to be committed where? Where are these tanks? We've got a tier 1 a little bit close towards the other side, but there is no one for CPlay back by their flag. This is an all-in play for them. It's all or nothing, do or die, and if they get one reset, they are done for. This is a very brave move.
That's Koskos trying to get back. He's got about 10 seconds to go. I'm not sure if he's going to be in time. KKT Gambo is also having to reset the game. He gets taken down by Nubax without a reset.
5 seconds left, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Keep your eye on that clock. One shot could do this. He doesn't land it. The base is capped by CPlay. The all-in strategy, the well-read play, all pays off. And my God, that was a dangerous move from them. No one back to defend, and depending on one player missing their shot. Yeah. Not a safe tactic, but it got them the map.
Yeah, it was, but it was unbelievable how bad eSuba was there. I mean, no offense, but you literally had the win on the plate. You
had it. They
you had the win on the plate. You did everything correctly, but you know, committing so many tanks to kill Ruster. I mean, I know he's a good player, but you know, mathematically,
do you think maybe they didn't expect only to be one guy? Maybe they expected more.
It was all spotted. It was all good for eSuba. They just needed to not go all in, you know, just send two. Voodoo's was fine, and send Burgit. Burgit and Voodoo's were already there. Why have you got Mirage, Stenley, and everyone else trying to take down Ruster? Send them straight in towards the cap, because it took so long for eSuba to get from where Ruster was towards the cap. It should have been there immediately. They would have started the cap about 20 seconds before CPlay, and then have Los Coscos go back and reset. So eSuba, you had the win, but you just committed and you were a little bit too cautious with your moves. Too little resources in the wrong position.
But is this once again down to the leadership, the calling, the kind of focus?
It was just a classic eSuba, but like good groundwork, but bad call.
Bit of a shame. I really want to watch it back to see if they were fully aware there was no one else on that hill.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if there was like an idea of there was 2 tanks there, maybe. I don't know. Maybe the whole play they made, I feel, was almost to try and... I don't know. There's so many elements that could have been thought into then that I just feel a little bit frustrated watching eSuba, because they're always on the verge of doing something brilliant. They're always that, I don't know, one step closer to it, and then suddenly it all falls apart. It's very frustrating to see. And CPlay have been playing well, but they've just been reacting to eSuba's mistakes, and they've been reacting perfectly. Let's take nothing away. They played very nice commitment games, yet then they had no one back to defend in case that cap did happen in place. Let's be serious. If eSuba didn't make that mistake, then CPlay would have been absolutely screwed. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. They had no one there to defend.
They'd already lost, pretty much.
Exactly. And CPlay were lucky to walk away with that completely unscathed. But then again, you know, it's the way the cookie crumbles. We have 2020 vision over everything. It's very easy to say, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Of course. But then again, you've always got to hedge your bets. And this is why I like watching teams like Kazna, like Scorebus on Himmelsdorf, like Virtus.pro, obviously. There's always that extra layer to that strategy coming out, whether it be keeping one tank in a passive position or one tank able to rotate back just to, you know, be able to stop that cap with the shot necessarily. Not seeing it with these guys, just not quite confident, I feel, maybe in that. And I believe the next map coming up being Ruinberg, I don't feel these two want to go towards that city after the performance so far. They might want to avoid that one, but you know, what can we expect? Let's bear in mind, eSuba have been a team that have been toying with the T69 coming into play. I think that could be something we might see coming into here. Yeah,
possibly. I think the big question for me is, do one of these teams want to camp? Obviously, from the north, it's pretty hard to camp. There's not really any good position. But the southern team, which I believe is going to be eSuba, do they just want to sit down? Because now 2-0 up, CPlay only have to draw this one out to guarantee themselves a win. We're in the 4th map now. You know, 3-0 would mean the game is simply over. It's best of 5, 3 gets you the win. So if I was CPlay, you really have nothing to lose at this point. Well, I kind of have everything to lose and nothing to lose. You still have the backup of having the next map. But I would expect that CPlay want this to be a 3-0. They want to get this over with, and if they see the opportunity, they're just going to pounce on it and go for it. And that kind of gives me the feeling that CPlay is going to be making the first move in this one. But quadruple 5100, double IS3, double tier 1, I think it's going to be eSuba's pick, as our admin has just picked out. Told the teams to come back. I don't think it's going to be. I think Los Coscos has gone back to battle. So I think we'll be seeing something a little bit lighter. But that's a big question for me. Will the team camp, or will we go for, like in the previous matchup, for that kind of Eastern Village brawl?
I've never seen eSuba playing completely passive, though. It'd be kind of scary to see them trying to play that maybe and try and do something a little bit passive, or maybe have to make a full executed move onto a defensive team. none of these teams seem to do well when it's down to that, I have to do this. I have to play the attacking game. They're great when the initial plan comes out and then they work off the back of it, when it's an even playing field. But when it's, let's say, okay, we now need to go for a capture. We know the team's going to play defensive. Let's assume CPlay's going to be sitting in the south, locking it down like we saw before. In the south, there's a little camping position down towards the southwest.
Yeah.
Let's say CPlay are there. Okay, finally we get to see eSuba having to pull out a completely executed strategy of how to outdo that if they want to actually come out of this game with anything other than a loss. I've never seen them have to actually put themselves into that sort of predicament when they come out on top, because normally they crumble under that pressure, which I feel could be a real issue coming to this. I think we're just seeing the final tanks coming in, and I feel they've actually, they have dropped that extra 5100 for another IS-3. Is that just them going, guys, it's not really worked so far, let's kind of play something a bit more well-rounded?
Yeah, I think IS-3 is always interesting. Sometimes it goes towards a city, sometimes it goes towards a village, but I do love the double IS-3 like we saw in the previous matchup in that village area. The amount of damage it can do around the corners, which is what you do in the village, you have the corner fights a lot, is just phenomenal. It can also absorb a lot of damage. Yeah. So if I was eSuba, I would be looking towards the village, but also CPlay have gone for the same thing. Unusually, both teams picking the triple 5100 double IS-3 double tier 1 on Ruinberg.
So, pretty much a mirror match.
Yep.
Your prediction on this match? Or this map, should I say?
I think CPlay is going to take this to 3-0.
I tend to agree with you. I think CPlay have got this one in their hands now. But you guys at home, once again, do make sure you get involved with that hashtag WGLEU with your predictions on how Ruinberg is going to be played out, because the teams are ready. So let's get towards possibly the final map, Ruinberg. So, welcome into battle number 4. We are here on Ruinberg, and now it's all down to eSuba to make something happen. CPlay will be starting in the south in red, and in the north in blue, it will be eSuba. They have to pick up something here. They have to do better than what they've been doing so far. And what are we seeing them getting up to at the moment? Straight
away, eSuba want to be going aggressive, sending all their tanks up towards the eastern village. To be honest, that's the best solution, actually, from the north. It's just the best way to do it. You even have better position than the southern. For CPlay...
Do you remember that theoretical thing I was asking you about?
Yeah, they're going to go defensive, as you can see, not wanting to be aggressive at all. They know, as I said, that the northern spawn probably has the better positions if you do go in towards the village.
Yep, and this is the time that now... This will answer my question, because as I said when we were talking about this before, I rarely get to see eSuba having to overcome a very static obstacle of quite obvious play. So I've never seen them having to undo, let's say, the school bus southwest hold on Himmelsdorf, or the southeast play they used to bring out on steps, for example. And I want to see how eSuba do this. Now they have a static target, excuse me, that doesn't variate. It doesn't do anything different. They can completely focus on this. How bad can their cause be here? If there's one target to approach, surely they can bring themselves into a bit of a good collective. Yep. Now, obviously, the positions they're coming against from CPlay are ridiculously hard to break. This would be a testing time for eSuba.
It's near on impossible to break it. I mean, even if eSuba was Virtus Pro, it would still be a hard job. It's just it's like the perfect place to camp. Really, really is.
Did they set this up for it? Like, do you think Wargaming were like, you know what? I'm going to give you every piece of cover you'd ever dream of. Every single angle even allows for like these perfect little shots.
I mean, in the actual normal game, the positions they're in just aren't used that much. Usually everyone's towards the F line, towards the eastern village. No one usually this far back. And I guess Wargaming made it just because when a team is on the back foot, they can possibly retreat and, actually start winning the game with these positions. Yeah. So, this is how they get the maps are balanced. It allows teams which are struggling to kind of reset the fight and turn it around. It makes it more exciting for sure. Birgit, Voodoo, Stanley all heading forwards, the 25100s and the IS-3, and immediately eSuba knows what CPlay is doing. It's a mark of a good team. They don't waste any time. Mirage takes one shot there from the side, 324 damage. It's a low roll. But now eSuba, they have the hardest job of all. How can they break CPlay's camp here? Because if CPlay draw it, it's game over.
Yeah, eSuba have to go for the victory. You can see Stenley is moving into dangerous grounds, actually. He's not exactly in the tier 1 either. He's in the IS3. Los Coscos does appear up by the church, and you're seeing a couple of shells being made, and there's that position again. Stenley going for that one. He might find Dr. Tua over there, actually. But right now, CPlay not moving a muscle. And this is a near-on mirror setup to what we saw previously, especially in this sort of spot. So Nervax in the dead zone all the way back down in those supporting positions. Just playing it smart, and look how far back these guys are. I didn't even know the map goes out this far, but the dead zone finding a piece of ruin to sit in. But at the moment, it's Stenley who's on the front lines. He's going to have to deal with Nervax near on immediately, and how hard it is to hit these IS3s, even just in these positions, is unreal. But all in all, are there any feasible options here for eSuba? What can they do to undo this? Is there something that theoretically would be near on impossible, but it's the only way it would work?
They have to basically take one tank down immediately, and the IS3 probably a good target for the first shells. But CPlay basically have to mess up. The position they're sitting in is just so hard to break. The mistakes they would have to do were cataclysmic. They would have to be shooting at different targets, all the players just miscommunication, maybe someone push out too far. So it would have to be very, very bad play from the German team to basically go down, especially when Los Coscos receive shells like that, 417 damage, flying his way in a 122mm form from the BL9. 5 minutes and 45 seconds left. Another shell heading Los Coscos, this time from the Killzor. And CPlay just can sit back, relax, make the shots they can, and really just wait for the 2 minutes and 30 seconds mark where eSuba pretty much have to push.
Yeah, and these guys, they're not moving a muscle. You can see Ruster maybe adjusting a little bit, but that's because he's got Hacky covering his back. He knows where he's safe, and it's pretty much this perfect crossfire they've set up. This perfect position where everyone is supported, everyone has an angle to watch, and you saw the Killzor's positioning coming into perfect effect. So he's just sat here, he's got his side covered off by Nervax, a little by the dead zone as well, and the backside covered off by Ruster and Hacky. So his one role is to watch this push-up. And he already spoiled out Los Coscos. It looks like maybe eSuba are bringing themselves around to a position, trying to find a way in. But maybe it's going to be caught out here, because Stenley has already appeared. So you're seeing the adjustments coming out from the Killzor, peering around, gets one shell, backs away. And it looks like we are going to be seeing a little bit of a push coming out from eSuba, and Stenley is out all on his own. No one else wanted to cross through. Is that intended?
Hopefully that's actually a pretty good job. I mean, they've really split up CPlay at this point, but Ruster goes on Stenley.
Yeah, but look how low Stenley is. He's down at 1-0-2. Meant it or not, this could be real trouble. Maybe this is how they're going to try and draw out some of those CPlay members, try and bring them into a weaker spot, but none of them taking the bait just yet. Hacky and Ruster playing smart, playing passively, not going for that extra really tantalizing shot towards Stenley there. Stenley does find Treves. The Killzor getting close, maybe looking for that shot just around the corner. Stenley moving up. He is the bait that's been set out by eSuba. He knows his role, but Hacky has found Fluky. And Stenley slowly but surely moving up towards Ruster and Hacky. It will not go well, but look at the dead zone. Look at Nervax. They might be trying to make a push out of this. This could be a mistake if it all goes wrong here.
Well, as I said, the retraction and the aggression from CPlay could undo them, but it's going well so far.
Let's see if they can finish this one off. The dead zone now coming around the backside. Mirage did not expect this. Ruster finds Stenley. Hacky find Mirage. And this is a whitewash coming out here. CPlay have barely lost a player. Nervax now joins in. Hacky finds Birgit, though. And Voodoo's pretty much the last man standing of any form of importance, taking shell after shell. There is no cover here. And CPlay have just folded around them, completely consumed them, leaving just Voodoo's alive. And this will be a 3-0. Voodoo's can do nothing but die with 6 tanks moving in to do the work. The Killzor claims it, and it's going to be a 3-0 pickup there for CPlay. And, credit to CPlay towards the end. They did not just sit there and wait it out, wait for them to slowly come in towards them. They saw the move, and they countered it straight away.
It was genius as well with the map picks. I mean, if you're thinking about this, you have the third or fourth map as Ruinberg.
You know you can do that.
You know you can camp and basically draw it out. You're guaranteeing yourself at least a draw, and you possibly could win if eSuba, you just can't push into that position. So genius stuff from CPlay, winning at 3-0. I didn't expect it to be such a landslide victory, but honestly, just in general, CPlay they started off the season pretty strong. A couple of hard opponents in the form of School Bus and Virtus Pro, and then they slumped. But it's clear to me now, I think this is their 3rd or 4th win in a row, that this is a team we have to watch out. Maybe they can qualify for this season if they win all their matches. Just maybe. I mean, there's 9 points now sitting on 11. TCM has 12. So they could qualify. But if they carry on like this, you know, I think Nadezhda needs to be a little bit better. He needs to improve himself and not being too impressive. I think they can actually head up towards in Season 5 and be a top team.
They actually could do quite well here. Let's bear in mind the next 2 games for CPlay. First is the Drooling Leprechauns. Not easy, but possible. And then it's Lucky Karaki. Not easy, but possible. Both those games could be wins. And that would mean they take over the likes of, you know...
if everything goes their way, it's a real possibility for them. That's
quite an interesting matchup then, actually. We've got to keep our eyes on those guys because they have a real chance against the offline finals, a team who just entered into this season. So very well done to them. Standout players, obviously, once again, Ruster, Nervax. You could list off the whole lineup pretty much and take a pick. You know, they played absolutely brilliantly in that one. And even considering the map choices, that is something that a lot of teams actually don't do, considering we see the amount of times where they just do draws all the way through and then suddenly have to win on the last map. And they're like, oh, I remember I have to actually play tanks now. But no, credit to them for thinking it out smartly and going for the maps that would suit them best in that sort of setup. So very well played to CPlay in the end. eSuba, once again, theoretically, very good ideas. Execution, however, and practical input of them, not quite there, I feel.
I think eSuba needs to just sit back, go through what their gameplay is and say, okay, guys, you know, they're very aggressive. Every single time they're going forwards, they're going very aggressive. But the problem is they're not very good going forwards and they make a lot of bad calls. So I think as a team, I would be like, let's just play the normal style like every other team does. You know, getting information, going through all the steps, kind of being as systematic and iterative in every respect, and then go for the win once you know what you're going to do. Because at the moment, eSuba's aggressive style, it doesn't suit well the tanks at the moment. I think, you know, the game is going to change a lot in 2014, and maybe towards the end when we're in 9.3, 9.4, then their aggressive movement is going to work.
Yeah, most certainly. So eSuba, I like the effort, but the execution, not quite there.
Yeah.
But anyway, Melly, did the people at home get it right there? Because on paper, this was quite a one-sided game. Let's be serious here, you know. But did the people pick up on that? Because they're generally pretty spot on.
Yeah, pretty much 92% for core
wow.
play. So.
Okay, that's big.
Yeah, there was me like, oh, it might be close. No.
I don't even dare to speak out the result loud because it's kind of humiliating. Like 90% is, they didn't even count in eSuba in this match, as it seems.
It was like a one-team kind of lineup going.
Exactly. Oh, okay, CarPlay is on the server. CPlay is going to take it, don't worry. Who's even playing? No, and if you have a look in the comment section, well, we have a lot of 3-0, 2-0 predictions and actually a couple of draws. So, but the community at home was, as you said, pretty spot on as usual. Congratulations to you guys. I will announce the winners later, of course, as usual, and of course the winners for the tweets of the day will be announced later as well. And thank you for your participation. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Just get in all of our communities for not missing anything that's going on in our little tanks universe. Thank you for participating. Isn't it a tank universe?
It is now.
It's Wargaming universe.
It's Wargaming's tank universe.
Exactly.
We can add words to that. It's like the German language. Just add random words.
Just add words. It works.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Alrighty. So we have had a great play day, all in all. I think we can agree today. The matches have been ending the way we expected, but some of the routes to get there certainly a little bit surprising, I'd say. Some play being a little lackluster, but I still feel, you know, TCM 3-4 was a great game to watch. And I think the last game was actually a really good one. Even though it was quite one-sided, I do enjoy, you know, CPlay's, you know, style of play, and I like the way they execute.
Yeah.
EPS against Wusa. You know, Wusa gave a good showing there, to be fair. A little bit surprising through and through, and as you can see, the results showing up right now. TCM drawing out with Freefall, a little bit surprising, but TCM have been lackluster. That's the only way to put it at the moment. They've not been on point for the last couple of games, and Freefall have been
It's their third or fourth draw now, TCM, so
they've been struggling through.
The good thing, I guess, for TCM is that it's not been like they're 2-0 ahead and then they go 3-2 or 2-0 down.
Yeah.
Or they get the two maps back. It's been they lost the first two matches and they've won it, which is different from how they usually draw it out, but it's still a draw at the end of the day, TCM. So, you know, 3 or 4 draws, it's not random anymore. It is just TCM.
That's the problem. Yeah.
It's not just random.
See, when it first happened, we were like, okay, maybe it's just the matchups. Maybe they just didn't have their full lineup in. There was, you always chalk it up to a reason, and then once it starts falling into place week in, week out, you're like, okay, they need to actually sort something out here, because they started out so strongly.
Yeah.
And it's funny that we always see them doing this. Normally it's Denial then flying up the scoreboards, but they always start out within the top 3, top 5, and then slowly but surely they just kind of trickle down, and it's a bit of a shame because they're such a strong team at times, but just clearly not on point at the moment, maybe struggling to just, I don't know, maybe get the practice in, coming in the right mental, state and making sure they're focused. Whatever the reasons are, it's certainly holding them back on the rankings. But that aside, we do now need to start looking towards, obviously, the next play day, because there's 2 games that I've been wanting to see for quite some time coming up on the next play day. It's not the one game, that's the following play day, but the one coming up, there's 2 games. This is going to be good. Okay, so
It's going to be good.
First game, Lucky Karaki up against Druid and Leprechauns. That's not bad. That's 2 newcomers coming in. We'll warm up ourselves off that. All right, we just get in there. Lucky Karaki, they're doing well. The Leprechauns, they've done well. Both surprising new entries. But let's be serious here. Who doesn't then want to watch Schoolbus up against Kazna Crew, and then following that, Virtus.pro up against Denial? Now the second game there is probably the best. I'd say that hands down. That is the match of the day. But Virtus.pro against Denial, that's a lot of rivalry there. You look towards the offline finals, you look towards the last seasons. Denial used to be able to keep up with these guys. They used to be able to not necessarily always win, but they'd at least challenge. There'd be maps that get close. There'd be results. You're like, oh, that was a bit tight there for Virtus.pro. This is time for Denial to finally step up. If there was any time to do it towards the late game where they normally become, the team that's in the top 4, it has to be right now. They have to step up above and beyond, and let's bear in mind, Virtus.pro haven't even dropped a game.
Yeah.
I think you're in agreement towards what the best game of the play day is, though.
Schoolbus versus Kazna. I actually think that's going to be one of the closest games. Evil Panel Squad really did destroy Schoolbus, but Kazna and Schoolbus, they kind of have a similar playstyle, and I'm really interested to see which one will be the winner, because now pretty much Schoolbus and Kazna are going to go to the offline finals.
It's a warm-up to that.
It's a warm-up.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens, and if Schoolbus can actually keep up with Kazna, it's 2 versus 4. And then, as you said, Denial versus Virtus.pro. For Denial, it's last chance saloon. They actually need to win against Virtus.pro.
Considering the results
unless
of today.
They get very lucky. Exactly. They need to get this win in the bag, and it's the hardest game to play and the hardest matchup to play for them. So if they do, when we saw Druid and Leprechauns take a map against Virtus.pro, so
they're
it's
not
still
unbeatable.
It's still possible.
Anyone can do it if you play the perfect game. It's just getting yourself on that platform. Knowing that these teams have had issues. Schoolbus hasn't seemed the team that we've known before. We've seen them in playdays when they're so flustered by external factors. They've not even closed out maps against very weak teams compared to them on paper. We've seen them missing out players who are absolutely key to their lineup. We saw in the last couple of playdays, Applewell wasn't there. A couple of players not in the lineup. Clearly, obviously, having their own things to do. Don't get me wrong, but they look like a very different team without their superstars. I can imagine they'll be calling them back for this one. I'm going to imagine there's going to be like a phone call going, a letter sent out. They'll be around that guy's house like, Applewell, we need you to play this game. You have to deal with Elian. But still, that is a lot to do. And that's all going to go down on the 17th of July, obviously this week on Thursday. Do make sure you follow on Twitch TV just down below. There is that lovely little follow button. Hit that up or go toward the social media sites that Melly told you about. Facebook and Twitter. We tweet and we put out a post every time we go live. And I am really damn excited for the next Playday. And it will be kicking off around the same time, around 7 CEST. So if you don't want to follow any of those social media sites or follow on Twitch just because you're being awkward, have a great memory and tune back in on the same time at this URL. So guys, we have had a great Playday. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And make sure you tune back in for the next one.